The silence on set, the morning light touched the Hollywood hills with gold as the crew gathered on set. The cameras stood like silent guards, ready to capture moments that would live forever. But something was off. People moved around quickly, whispering, avoiding eye contact. In the middle of it all stood Anadearmas, quiet, a little lost, and very alone. She had been cast in the lead role, and today was her first full scene. This was a big project, a major production with global eyes watching. But instead of being welcomed, she found herself standing by the coffee table alone, holding a paper cup that had long gone cold. No one came to her. No makeup artist touched her hair. No assistant asked if she needed anything. Even the director, who had praised her during casting, barely nodded as he walked past. It was strange, confusing, and a little painful. Anna tried not to show it, but her eyes kept moving around, looking for a familiar face, a warm smile, something. She saw small groups talking. They laughed, exchanged stories, and even helped each other with lines. But when she walked closer, the conversation always died. One by one, backs were turned. It wasn't loud. No one shouted at her. No one insulted her. But the silence was sharp, the kind that cuts deeper than words. Keanu Reeves arrived on set half an hour later. Dressed in his simple black jacket and jeans, he didn't walk like a star. He moved like he belonged to everyone, greeting the sound guy with a nod, shaking hands with the lighting crew, and smiling at the catering lady like she was the director herself. Then he saw her. Anna stood under a tall silver reflector, the wind messing with her hair. She was pretending to scroll through her phone, but her hands weren't moving. Her lips were tight. Her eyes were distant. Keanu's steps slowed. Something inside him shifted. He didn't know all the details, but he had seen this before. The quiet push-out. The invisible wall that others build around someone they think doesn't belong. He walked straight toward her. "You good?" he asked softly. Anna looked up, surprised. She nodded quickly, too quickly. "Yeah, just waiting." Keanu glanced around. No crew member was near. Her chair was missing a name tag. Her sides, the printed pages of her lines, were missing too. His face tightened. "Did you rehearse with the stand-in?" he asked. Anna shook her head slowly. "They didn't call me." Keanu didn't say a word for a few seconds. Then, he pulled out his own sides, flipped through them until he found the right page, and handed it to her. "We'll run it now," he said. Anna blinked. "But with me," he added, giving her a small smile. "It'll be fun." She looked at the page in her hand. Her name was printed there, finally visible. She read the line and felt her voice shake a little. Keanu stood still, waiting for her to finish. When she paused, unsure of the next cue, he whispered it, just enough to guide her, not to overpower her. For 10 minutes, they stood there in the corner of the lot, surrounded by moving equipment and rushing people, and became two actors locked in a quiet bubble of trust. Then something happened. The director noticed. He came over, curious why Keanu was off to the side. When he saw them rehearsing, his brows lifted. He called the assistant director over. Soon, 2 makeup artists came running. The silence that had wrapped itself around Anna began to break. Keanu didn't say a single word about what had happened, but that afternoon, when they shot the scene, Anna's chair had a name tag. Her water bottle was replaced with a fresh one, and someone even asked if she preferred a warm-up jacket between takes. Behind the camera, Keanu watched, not as a star, not as a hero, just as a man who believed no one should be treated like they're invisible. He didn't rescue her with a speech. He didn't shout or complain. He just stood beside her when it mattered, and in that silence, he changed everything. The whisper behind the curtain. The sun had already climbed high when they wrapped the final scene for the day. Anna walked toward her trailer slowly, unsure if the shift she felt earlier was real or just temporary kindness. The crew still moved, around her like she was fragile, like they weren't sure whether to speak or just nod. But at least now, they saw her. Keanu had already disappeared after filming. He always did that. No dramatic goodbyes, no waiting for attention. He came to work, gave everything, and left like the breeze. But his presence stayed behind like a silent echo. Anna sat in her small trailer and stared at the ceiling. Her eyes felt heavy, not from exhaustion, but from holding back too much for too long. This was her dream job, the kind people waited their whole lives for. But dreams didn't always feel warm. Sometimes they felt like glass. Beautiful, sharp, and ready to break. Her phone buzzed. A message. It was from the costume assistant. "They want to adjust your outfit for tomorrow. Please come to the fitting room in 20. Anna blinked. A simple message. But something inside her shifted. Yesterday, no one even told her where the fitting room was. She replied with a quick, "On my way," and left the trailer. In the wardrobe room, the vibe was different. The stylists greeted her with warm nods. One of them complimented her eyes. Another offered tea. Anna felt like she was walking through a dream, cautious, careful, waiting for someone to laugh and say it was all fake. But no one did. When the fitting ended, she opened the door to step out and heard two voices whispering behind the curtain. "Did you see Keanu earlier? Standing with her?" Totally changed everything. Yeah, now everyone's pretending like they always liked her. What a joke. Anna's heart paused. She didn't move. She didn't breathe. She just stood there, frozen behind that curtain. The voices continued. "He's different, man. He watches people. Like really sees them. Remember last year when he sat with that extra who fainted during a scene? Stayed with her for hours. Yeah. And didn't tell a soul. Guy's a ghost when it comes to credit." Anna stepped away silently, trying not to make a sound. She wasn't angry. She wasn't even hurt. But she felt something deeper, like someone had placed a blanket over her shoulders when she didn't even know she was cold. That night, the cast had a dinner meeting at a nearby restaurant. It was meant to build chemistry between the main actors and producers. Anna sat at the far end of the long table. She hadn't planned to speak much. The laughter was loud, the jokes fast, and the glasses kept refilling. Midway through dinner, the producer made a toast to our shining lead and the magic this film will bring. Everyone clapped politely. Anna smiled but stayed quiet. Someone asked about her background. "So, where did you learn English?" The question wasn't rude, but it was the way they said it. Too slow, like she wouldn't understand. "Cuba," she said softly. But most of it came from just watching people. The silence that followed wasn't cruel, just awkward. That's when Keanu walked in. He was late, holding a small notebook and a script. He sat near the center, just across from Anna. The mood shifted again, like someone had dimmed a harsh light. He looked at Anna. "Sorry I missed the toast. I brought that book you asked about." She blinked. "I didn't," he smiled. "The one on monologue delivery. Remember?" Anna caught it. A soft nudge, a gentle lie to lift her name into the air. She nodded. "Oh, yes, thank you." He slid the notebook across the table. Others watched, curious. "It has that scene from the lake," he said casually. "Your part in that. It's gold." Now everyone was listening. Anna opened the notebook slowly. The page inside wasn't about a scene. Instead, it had one line written in clear handwriting. "You are not alone on this set. Not anymore." Her hands trembled a little. The actor, beside Keanu, leaned in. "Mind if I read with you tomorrow morning? Just for practice?" Anna nodded, surprised. Keanu leaned back in his chair like nothing had happened. But inside Anna's chest, something bloomed. Not fame, not pride, just warmth. For the first time, she didn't feel like a guest in her own movie. Back at the hotel, Anna stood at her window, looking at the city lights. Behind her, the notebook lay open on the table. The message was still there. The silence that once haunted her was changing. Now there were whispers of something new. Respect. And it had. Started with one man who chose not to look away. The script that wasn't her Sana woke up earlier than usual. The city was still quiet, but her heart was loud. Something had changed inside her. It wasn't confidence yet, but maybe it was the beginning of it. She got dressed slowly, choosing something comfortable instead of what she thought looked impressive. For the first time in days, she didn't feel the need to prove anything, at least not in the same desperate way. On her way to set, she clutched the notebook Keanu had given her. She hadn't slept much. She'd read that message inside it, again and again. Each time it reminded her of something she almost forgot. Her own worth. The studio was buzzing already. Lights were being tested. Cables moved around like snakes across the floor. A new scene was being prepped, and she was not in it. But something strange happened. A junior assistant came running toward her, panting. "Anna, you're needed at stage 3, he said. She frowned. "But I'm not in this morning's scene." They changed it. "The director wants to test something new. You'll be reading for an extra part. Maybe it'll get added." Anna's heart dropped a little. Being called in to test for a scene that didn't exist in the original script, it felt like another trick, another way to sideline her. But she nodded and followed. Stage 3 was darker than the others. It was a small room with a black backdrop and a single spotlight. The crew inside was minimal, just the director, the cinematographer, and 2 cameramen. Keanu was there too, sitting on a wooden stool, flipping through a script. He looked up and smiled. "You came? You asked for me?" "I did," he said. "This scene isn't in the main story yet. We're trying something new, a flashback for my character. They need someone with depth to pull it off." Anna stared at him. He added, "I told them you were the one." The director gave her the script, a short, intense, emotional moment. No stunts, no action, just 2 people talking, one begging the other not to give up. Anna read it once, silently, then again, aloud. Her voice shook, not because she was nervous, but because the lines were too close to her real feelings. The fear of being unseen, the hope that someone might believe in her. The camera rolled. She didn't act. She felt. Tears came at the right place. Not forced, not practiced. Her body leaned forward, her hands trembling, as she delivered the final line. "If you stop now, you'll never know how much you mattered." The director didn't yell, "Cut." He let the silence hold for a long time. Finally, he looked up from his monitor and whispered, "We're keeping this." Anna blinked, unsure if she heard him right. He nodded. This wasn't supposed to be in the movie, but now it has to be. Keanu gave her a small nod, like he knew all along. That afternoon, word spread fast. Crew members who hadn't spoken to Anna since the beginning now stopped her in the hallway to say they saw the footage. One of the set designers offered her a place to sit near the monitors. Even the director's tone softened when he gave instructions. But not everyone was happy. In the shadows of the set, a few voices whispered. She got lucky. It's only because Keanu keeps pushing for her. Wait till she fails a take. They'll drop her. Anna heard bits and pieces, but she said nothing. Not because she didn't care, but because she finally understood something Keanu had been trying to show her. Respect doesn't come fast, and it doesn't come from everyone. But when it does come, it changes everything. Later that week, Anna was walking past the soundstage when she noticed an older woman struggling to carry 2 heavy mic stands. Most people walked past without looking. Anna stopped. "Do you need help?" she asked. The woman looked surprised. "Aren't you the lead?" Anna smiled softly. "I'm also someone with 2 hands." She helped carry the equipment across the lot. No cameras caught it, no reporters wrote about it. But the sound engineer saw, so did a lighting assistant nearby. And later that day, someone placed a fresh bottle of water beside Anna's chair without being asked. Kindness, like Keanu had shown her, was quiet, but it always echoed. As the day ended, Anna and Keanu sat outside on folding chairs, watching the sunset reflect off metal scaffolding and warm orange filters. "You crushed that scene," Keanu said. Anna looked down. "I was just honest," he nodded. "That's all people ever need from you." Anna turned toward him, her eyes soft. "Why did you help me, Keanu, when no one else did?" He thought for a moment before answering. "Because once, someone helped me when I felt invisible, and it changed my life." Anna didn't speak. She just stared at the fading sky, and for the first time since she arrived, she felt something she hadn't in a long time: belonging. The backlash in silence the next day began with applause. As Anna stepped onto the set, several crew members clapped quietly. The director gave her a small nod. Even the senior producer, who had barely looked at her before, smiled and said, "You're going to make this film special." For a moment, she didn't know how to react. The praise felt unfamiliar, like trying on someone else's jacket. Warm, but not quite hers yet. She just bowed her head slightly and whispered, "Thank you." But not everyone was clapping. Inside the production office, behind a half-closed door, 3 senior crew members sat around a long table. They were watching her footage on a large screen. "She was okay," one muttered. "But she's still new. Raw," another scoffed. "She got that scene because Keanu handed it to her." A third one leaned back in his chair. "This isn't just about her. It's about him. He's shifting power on this set, and no one's saying anything." They didn't dislike Anna for who she was. They disliked the change she brought. And even more, they disliked that the change came from someone like Keanu, someone they couldn't control. Anna didn't know about the meeting, but she could feel the tension. The camera tests went longer than usual that morning. The lighting. Director kept adjusting her marks, making it seem like she was standing in the wrong spot. When she asked questions, the script supervisor gave clipped replies. Her lunch was delayed, and her trailer wasn't cleaned. Small things, but enough to chip away at confidence. After hours of waiting, the director finally said they were ready to shoot. It was a 2-person scene, just Anna and a senior actress, known for her sharp delivery and powerful screen presence. The script was emotional, tense. Anna had prepared all night, but the camera didn't roll. Instead, the assistant director walked in and said, "Change of plans. Anna, you'll sit this one out. They're rewriting the scene." She blinked. "What?" "New direction," he said flatly. "Your character isn't needed here anymore." No warning. No explanation. The senior actress looked away, uncomfortable. Anna nodded slowly and walked off set. Outside, she found a quiet corner between 2 storage containers and sat on the concrete floor. Her fingers tightened around the notebook Keanu had given her. Her heart ached. Not from rejection, but from the weight of not knowing where she stood anymore. She had done well. She had been kind, respectful, professional. But somehow, it still wasn't enough. A shadow fell over her. She looked up. Keanu was standing there holding 2 paper cups of coffee. He offered her one. "They cut me from the same scene once," he said gently. She took the coffee but didn't drink. "Was it personal?" she asked. He sat beside her on the cold ground. "Maybe. Or maybe someone thought I didn't fit the mood that day. Or maybe someone just needed to feel powerful." Anna didn't answer. Keanu sipped his drink, then glanced sideways. "You can't fight shadows with fists, Anna. You just keep walking, keep showing up, one honest scene at a time." She looked down at her lap. "But what if they never stop, trying to push me out?" "Then you make your own space," he said softly. so wide they can't ignore it. Later that evening, Anna went to the editing room. She knocked gently and asked the editor if she could watch some rough cuts. The woman behind the desk, older, quiet and sharp-eyed, nodded and let her in. For 2 hours, Anna sat in silence, watching herself on screen. Some takes were shaky, others were strong. But what mattered most was this. She saw her own growth. Each scene was better than the last, and each time her eyes shone with more truth. "You've got something," the editor finally said. Anna turned. "Don't lose it," the woman added. Anna smiled faintly. "I won't." Meanwhile, Keanu sat in a dim hallway outside the studio's back exit, flipping through a thick binder of notes. A junior crew member approached. He looked nervous. "Sir? I just wanted to say something." Keanu looked up. "Go ahead. We all saw what happened today. It wasn't right, the way they treated Anna. It was cold." Keanu nodded slowly. The crew member continued. "Some of us, not many but a few, we're with you. And with her. Just say the word." Keanu stood, put a hand on the young man's shoulder and said, "No words needed. Just keep doing the right thing." That night, as the studio emptied, Anna returned to the set. She stood in the middle of the quiet soundstage. No cameras. No lights. Just her and the space. She closed her eyes and spoke a single line from her first scene, the one that changed everything. And then she whispered another. And another. She was practicing. Not because anyone asked her to, but because she had decided this space belonged to her too, not because she was invited, but because she had earned it. The unplanned spotlight. The sun hadn't risen yet, but Anna was already on set. It was cold and still. The studio lights hadn't been turned on, and the crew had not arrived. But Anna stood on the main stage, quietly rehearsing her lines. She wasn't supposed to shoot that day. Her scenes were pushed again. But she had come anyway. She came to show the shadows that she wasn't leaving. As she walked through her scene, softly reciting her lines, a door creaked open behind her. "You always rehearse this early?" came a voice. She turned. It was the editor, the same woman who had let her watch the rough cuts. Anna nodded. "No one interrupts me here." The editor walked closer, carrying a tablet. "Good, because you might want to see this." She handed. Anna, the device on screen was a new version of the film's trailer. Anna's face appeared in the first 5 seconds. Not the main star. Not a background figure. She was front and center. Her line from the cut scene, the one they weren't going to use, had been added. Her voice echoed in the trailer. "If you stop now, you'll never know how much you mattered." Anna stared at the screen, speechless. Who made this version?" she asked. The editor smiled faintly. "Keanu pushed for it, but after the last test screening, even the studio couldn't ignore how people responded to you." Anna blinked, her throat tight. "They're making you one of the core emotional pillars of the story now," the editor added. "Your part is no longer optional." An hour later, the studio was buzzing. Emails were flying. Producers were calling. New shots were added to the schedule. Anna's role had been upgraded. Officially, a new dressing room was assigned to her. Her name, finally, was printed on the cast board in bold, not handwritten in pencil. The crew members who had once looked through her now paused to say hello, some out of guilt, some out of genuine respect. But it didn't matter. Anna nodded, to each one, never holding on to anger. Only moving forward, but not everyone was smiling. Inside the production office, one of the senior crew members threw a script across the table. "This is not how it was supposed to go," he snapped. "She was background," another producer shrugged. "Audience loved her. You saw the scores." Keanu did this. The room fell silent. They all knew it was true, but they also knew they couldn't stop it anymore. The story had changed. Not just the script, but the real story. The one behind the camera. That afternoon, Anna walked onto set for a reshoot. It was a high-stakes emotional scene, placed in the heart of the movie now. She had only one night to prepare. As she stood in position, the director gave her a long look. He didn't smile, but his voice was softer than before. "You ready?" he asked. Anna nodded. The camera rolled. Her co-star delivered his line. Then it was her turn. She stepped forward, looked straight into his eyes and spoke, slow, steady, full of meaning. "They said I was too quiet, that I didn't belong. But you know what silence teaches you? How to listen. And when you listen, you don't miss the truth." The room was still when she finished. No one clapped. No one moved. The director whispered, "Cut." And then the entire crew broke into quiet applause. It wasn't loud, but it was real. After the scene, Anna stepped outside to get some air. Keanu was there, leaning against a railing, sipping from a paper cup. "I saw the trailer," she said. He nodded, calm. "You earned that." "Thank you," she whispered. Keanu shook his head. "Don't thank me. Thank yourself for showing up every day, even when no one was watching." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Keanu added, "There will be more shadows, more tests. They never stop." Anna smiled. "Then I won't stop either." He looked at her, really looked, and smiled back. "Good," he said. "Because stories like this, they don't end on set. They echo in every heart watching from the dark." And that night, as Anna walked away from the soundstage, she didn't feel like an actress. She felt like part of something larger, a quiet force, finally heard. The scene that wasn't in the script, the premiere was 2 weeks away. Post-production was in full swing. Editors worked around the clock, and marketing teams were flooding the internet with teasers, stills, and behind-the-scenes clips. And to Anna's surprise, she was in all of them, not just as a background character, not just as the girl who surprised everyone. She was now being introduced as a heart of the story. But with that spotlight came something she had not fully prepared for: public attention. Blogs wrote about her journey on set. Some called her an underdog. Others said she didn't deserve it. She didn't read all the comments. But one morning, as she waited in her trailer, a makeup artist nervously handed her a phone. "You need to see this," she said quietly. It was a gossip site. "Anadearmas only made it into the film because of Keanu's influence," the headline read. "No talent, just protection." Anna handed the phone back without saying a word. The artist looked away, unsure what to say. Anna didn't cry. She didn't panic. But later that evening, she walked into an empty rehearsal room and shut the door behind her. She stood in the middle of the floor and whispered to herself, "You made it this far. Not because of pity, but because you didn't leave." And then she opened the script and began practicing. Again. Not for others, not to prove anything, but because this was what she loved. The words, the emotions, the craft. The night before the premiere, the studio held a final closed screening for the full cast and crew. Anna sat in the center row, her hands cold, her breath shaky. Keanu sat 2 seats down. He gave her a reassuring look. "Breathe," he whispered. The lights dimmed. The screen lit up. Scene after scene passed. When her upgraded sequence came, the one where she delivered that now famous line, the room was still. But then something happened. In the middle of the film, during a flashback no one had seen in any trailer, there it was. A scene that wasn't in the final shooting schedule. Anna and Keanu, sitting on a bench beside a lake. The lighting soft. The tone intimate. She didn't remember this being filmed. On screen, Keanu's character asked, "Why do you keep showing up when no one claps for you?" And Anna's character smiled faintly. "Because claps fade. But truth stays. And I came here to tell the truth. The room was silent. Keanu leaned toward her and whispered, "That was the day we ran a camera test. You thought we were just rehearsing. I told them to keep it rolling." Anna stared ahead, stunned. He had captured her most raw moment, not as an actress, but as herself. When the lights came back on, the room erupted in applause. This time, loud, proud, genuine. People stood. They clapped for the cast, for the crew, but especially for Anna. Tears filled her eyes as crew members, one after another, came to hug her, shake her hand, and thank her. Not for being perfect, but for being real. After the crowd had left, she stood in the hallway, quiet. Keanu approached, holding 2 paper cups of tea. "I figured you'd want this more than champagne," he said. She took it and smiled. "You once said someone helped you when you were invisible," she said softly. He nodded. "Who was it?" Keanu looked away for a moment, then back at her. "A cleaner on my first set," he said. "I was standing alone. No one spoke to me. She brought me tea, looked me in the eye, and said, 'You belong here.'" Anna's eyes widened. "And now, you're that for me," she whispered. Keanu smiled gently. "And one day, you'll be that for someone else." On the night of the premiere, Anna walked the red carpet in a simple black dress. No diamonds, no flashing designer names, just elegance and quiet strength. Reporters shouted questions, fans cheered, photographers clicked away. But all she heard was her own heartbeat and the soft voice inside reminding her, "You made it because you didn't give up." On the big screen, her story played to thousands. But off-screen, the real story was already complete. It wasn't about fame. It wasn't about attention. It was about finding your place, even when no one gives it to you, and choosing to stand there anyway. And now, she stood not in someone else's shadow, but fully, finally, in her own light.